Hi everyone, this is Brian with TCS, and this is our second video on using our BACnet Manager in the Ubiquity Cloud. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the navigation tree, which you see along the side here, and also how to use our tagging feature. So where we left off from the first video, we were on this kitchen stat, and we did a full discovery on everything here, and we brought those points of these objects into our staging map, and then we also brought them down to the active map. But we still are going to need to create a programming page, and by bringing those into the active map, anything that was noted on here as having a monitor tag or a read tag, it's going to show up here on the monitoring page. So you can see that's pretty big, pretty confusing. So we're going to see in a later video how to clean this up and how to make sense of all that. So we'll tackle that in a later video. And we'll go right here back to the kitchen stat, and we're going to go down into this tree and see how that these points are utilized here, so you can manage these on an individual point or individual BACnet object basis. So for example here, if I click on that heat set point, you can see here that it's got its present value. It hasn't been read yet, so we're going to go ahead and read that point. And you also see that it has a write button here too. So this point is writable, so you can both read and write. So we're going to go ahead and read that point. So you can see that as soon as I click the read, it sends a message. And if I want to speed this process along, I'm just clicking right here on the tab a few times, and you can see that the icon turns green, and there's my present value on that is 68 degrees. So I can go ahead and I can rewrite that. Let's say that I want to put that at 69. I can go ahead and write it here. And again, I'm going to get this icon turns to gray, meaning that it's in the reading or writing process. And again, I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I can see that now I've read back that it is 69 degrees. So if I go into the tag editor, this is where we start utilizing the tagging and tell this what it can do and have the different features on it. So for example here, this is the dis tag or the description tag. I can say to this, I can rename this however I want. So if I just want to abbreviate it and say A heats SP instead of set point, I can do that there. If I want to change the units, for example, I've got all of the temperature units here, and you can see all the different units that are available to us. So I go to temperature, and let's say that I need to change this to Celsius. I can do that there as well. So that's one way to do that. Those types of things. And again here, if this had priority array, I would put a writable tag on here. But I'm going to go ahead and cancel that out. I'll show you that a little bit more. But you can also see that this is a analog value, so it doesn't have a lot else on it right now. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. And we're going to go here to the cooling set point. So you can see now the cooling set point, I don't have the write tag. So I set this up so I can show you how to add these tags a little bit. So for example here, I've got the read-only icon on here, so I can't do anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the tag editor, and I am going to eliminate this read-only tag from this. So again, that just basically makes this so that it is now writable. By just removing the read-only tag, I'm going to go ahead and save that, and now you can see that I've got the write capability here. And again, I can change that. I can change this to 73 and write that, and again, you see how the icon went to gray, and if I click that a few times, it's going to come back and it's going to show that the temperature is then changed. So let's go to this a little bit more detail here. So I'm going to go to this BO mode. So let's say that on this BO output, which is the reversing valve output typically, and we're going to use it for something else. So we go to the BO mode, and I can see here that I've got all these different options that I can use. So in this particular case, I want to make this, instead of for reversing valve, I'm going to use this for heat stage 3. But I also want to go to the tagging here and say, okay, now I want to change this description tag to heat stage 3. Ooh, if I could spell, that would help. All right, so change that to heat stage 3. And again, I can see here that this is a multi-state value. So I'm always going to have on an MSV property, I'm going to have the state text here. So this is off, reversing valve, heat 3, cool 3. Those are all the things that this can be used for. I can also add items here. I can delete items. I can change the name if I want to. All that stuff can be done here as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and save that. Now you can see that that is heat stage 3, and I'm going to write this to reversing valve. So again, icon goes to gray. I just click here and it's going to read back that value for me as soon as it can. And again, we're on the internet, so there's always a little bit of latency there. Oh, it did not take that. Let me just do that again. Hold on one sec. There we go. I must have missed that. So now I've written that as heat stage 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the actual BO output itself. So this is the BO output, and again, I set this up so it's read-only. So we want to go ahead and change that. It's just we'll go through that example again. So what I want to do in this particular case is I'm going to eliminate that read-only tag, but I'm also going to add a writable tag to this. So when I go to add tags, you're going to see here as I start to type in, I've got haystack tags and I've got TCS tags here. So I've got all these different tags libraries that we have, and we've got a document on this that shows all the different tags that we've got available. But as soon as you start typing, you're going to the drop down will start to narrow down on what you need. In this particular case, we're going to use the haystack writable tag, and that basically means commandable. Haystack called it writable, but it's a command, makes this commandable, which means it's going to have priority array. I made a mistake on the previous video. I didn't think BO had priority array. I thought it did, and it turns out it does. I just didn't hit the read button long enough to get that feedback from the unit. So I'm going to go ahead and add that there. And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this, and we'll see the icon will turn back to green. And now I'm going to open this up, and I can see that now I've got priority array here. Now, those of you who know BACnet are going to know what I'm doing here, but you're going to see here, first of all, on the relinquish default is position 0, which in this particular case is off. And position 1 would be on. So and we automatically put the relinquish value in position 16, which you can clear if you want to, but normally you're going to write to a higher value here. So for example, let's say that I want to write to priority level 10, and I want to write this to on. So I just click that and then go right down here to the right position, and you can see here that it's now created this message to write this. And I'm going to go ahead and just click on this repeatedly, and now I can say that the present value has changed to on. And if I go here, I can see that it wrote it to position 10. It also wrote it to position 6, which we reserve for minimum on-off time. So when outputs like this, for example, have a minimum off time, I believe this is 15 seconds or 30 seconds, it's going to write to that as well at a higher priority level, so that even if you try to turn this off, the priority 6 is going to take command of this and keep that on for its minimum on time, and it will release it. So for example, right now, if I go ahead and I'm sorry, I have to look over my screen a little bit here. I go ahead and click the right on that. I should be able to refresh this, and I think that value will now have cleared. So we'll go ahead here, and we can see that position 6 has cleared. So it's now just writing to number 1. But let's say that instead of writing this to off on position 10 again, I want to write it to position 9. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'm going to click the right button. And again, we'll go ahead and refresh this page. And now you can see that the present value is off. And again, it wrote the minimum on-off time at position 0 as well. So again here, we can rewrite this to 9, or what I can do is I can clear that. So So again, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do a read on this to make sure that that this is. I apologize, I'm working on two screens here, so I'm going to make sure that the minimum position is cleared, and it has. So now instead of rewriting this, I can just clear. When you write a clear, it's basically writing a null value to that position. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that. Again, I'll refresh this, and you're going to see, as soon as I get this refreshed, now the present value turned to on. And again, it's now, it took position 10, and if I go ahead and clear that and clear the minimum off time, it's going to go back to 0 at position 16. Or you could just rewrite the off to position 16. So that's basically how the priority array works within the Ubiquity BACnet Manager. I think we've covered pretty much anything I wanted to cover here. The next thing we're going to be talking about is how to set up a programming page in Ubiquity. So we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks.